Hey, good people, this is your NI Dom back with another YouTube reflection. And this is a personal journal for contemplative people looking to think, grow, and have impact in the world. So, hey, I'm in the middle of a series responding to a podcast series about a guy that I'm calling Tom who physically, sexually, financially, emotionally, psychologically abused hundreds of women. And the series, um, i- it's from a podcast called Something Was Wrong. I set up in part one where I talk about what I like about the podcast in general. Part two, I talk about the racial implications for me as a listener, as a Black woman listening to the project that is mostly um, from women who are either white presenting or white adjacent, not exclusively, but mostly. And then in part three, I start talking about the legality of putting somebody else's story, just kind of setting the case up like these women that were abused got together and they put this story up on Instagram and just having some response to that. So that was part three. In part four, I want to really talk about the part that made me uncomfortable, and it's going to be a little bit um, messy because I need to work through it. I'm not 100% sure if I have all the facts together. So I'm going to try to be as delicate as possible, but also as honest as possible about my emotions, my perception, and of course, if I find out as I can, because I have two more episodes left in that series, if I find out that I misunderstood something, I will come back. All right. But for now, if you're new to this project, this is a personal journal where I process my inner and my outer worlds. I do so by using personality theory. The two theories that I use the most are the Myers-Briggs and the Enneagram. Pushing those two systems together, I identify as an INTJ8. I have other disclaimers that I remove from YouTube as a short reflection. But my podcast, I have a longer reflection and I give more disclaimers. If you want to know more about my project or about me, please feel free to go to my website at yournidom.wordpress.com. Okay. So I believe Tom was a hairdresser, but at some point Tom picked up photography, which doesn't seem odd. He's more than likely a creative soul, right? Two careers based on creativity. So he ends up doing a lot of freelance work for a company, a small business that's doing work for Black lives, like to fight for justice around Black Lives Matter. And if I'm not mistaken, Tom is doing a lot of photography for that company as a freelancer and um, traveling and associating himself with this company. The company is Black owned. So I'm going to pause here. I want to be really honest. I have some of my emotionality to this is because it was Black owned for two reasons. Being Black, right? Now they're about to talk about somebody who's Black. And unfortunately, whether you like it or not, Blacks have historically made it because of a kinship thing that we do through collective suffering, collective fighting for liberation. So the collective nature of Black survival in the United States creates a kinship, even a lot of times it's a false kinship, right? So it's a really complicated situation, but it's a real thing. So when I find out I'm listening to this episode and I find out that the company that Tom works for is Black owned, I'm I'm now invested in another level. See, up until this point, up until episode 9, I was invested as a podcaster. I was invested as a person who loves analyzing and like, let's see where this goes. I was invested as a person who has been a victim of a number of forms of abuse, right? I don't usually call it abuse. I call it intergenerational trauma, but that's a whole separate conversation about why I would not call it abuse, right? Like we could just I need to come back and even touch that. Like why you don't usually hear me say abuse. Those of you who follow the project, you hear me say I come from intergenerational trauma, and one of the reasons why I do that is to account for that somebody has harmed me, and more than likely I've harmed somebody else because that's the unfortunate nature of intergenerational trauma, right? But man, I would love to stay there, but I just want to acknowledge that. So up until season episode 9, I was invested for a number of reasons. I'm a woman, I'm analytical, I'm a survivor, I love a good podcast. But now, when the story now about Tom now overlaps with this business that's fighting for Black lives and it's Black owned, you got me on a whole nother level of investment. All right. So I need to be really honest about that. So this is the part I don't fully understand. I believe for the women who were victims of Tom, this is the name I'm giving the guy who was the asshole, right? Four of the women got together and put this Instagram account up, and go to part 3, and you'll hear me talk that through. I'm not going to talk it through it again. And at some point, they decided to reach out to this Black-owned business that's fighting for Black Lives Matter to tell them about Tom. I don't know what they wanted to come from that because several times because they didn't get what they wanted. And I need to go back. I really should go back and listen to it again before I do this reflection. But like I said in part 2, I believe, or part 3, I have raw emotions now. I want to record while the emotions are on me, as opposed to letting the emotions settle and come back. I can always come back, but I want to capture my emotions in real time. I don't know what these women wanted when they went to the business, the Black owned business that's fighting for Black Lives Matter. But I know they didn't get what they wanted because they said it. And they kept saying, I understand if we didn't get this. We didn't want this. We we didn't want this. We didn't want that. I understand that. But they never really said what was problem from of this Black owned business. And the reason why I say it was a problem because they said stuff like, I didn't feel understood. I felt ambushed on this call. I don't think that they understood where we were coming from. Then they went and pulled in a person that I think, did some other freelance work through this company and who split ways with the owner. And the person, I'm going to call him Jack. Now, Jack also used to do business with um, this Black Lives Matter company. And I guess Jack was trying to be down for the cause by giving up sharing his studio or sharing his space, partnering with the company, which is really I think it's cool. But something about the owner, there were a couple of things about the owner that Jack didn't really. Jack was like, it's not a problem, but it feels underhanded. On one hand, you're saying, I don't have a problem here, but let me tell you these things on the side. That feels shitty to me because then a person can't directly confront it, make an argument, make a claim, stand in it, and let somebody address it. But it's this wishy-washy business. I do not like that. Um, well, I didn't really have a problem with this, but I decided. Let me give you an example. I decided to part ways with them because just to cut, they had some business practices that weren't sustainable for me. That's a low ball. That's a hit. And if they had been true, it's still a hit, right? I hope you listen to me can understand why I would feel like. especially as a black business owner, because black business owners don't get the resources that other businesses get to be sustainable. I'm a cry. I think this is part of it. I'm not. It's not everything. But people don't understand that. So yeah, you're not comparing apples to apples. I don't even think you're comparing apples to oranges. You might be you might be comparing apples to apple pie, but it's not the same because black businesses don't get the resources to be sustainable. So when a white business or person who's like, I'm down for the cause Black Lives Matter, I'm gonna partner with you, but oh, I'm gonna now pull out because there's something about you that's not sustainable, that's counterproductive. This is what Black Lives Matter is all about. Be down for the cause, even if they're not on par. You get in the trenches with them and you say, hey, yo, this is what you got to do to be better. How can I help you? But to pull out and then get on a podcast and be like, yo, I pulled out. I don't have a problem with him, but that just felt dirty to me. And yes, it felt personal, right? Right. Because I had somebody who did that to me. I had at a school, my school didn't have a doorbell, but I had somebody who watched the door because we were short staffed. That person had to go do something and stepped away from the door for a minute, but we had to keep the doors locked because our number one priority was keep the kids safe. Well, one of our older people came to that door while my staff member stepped away for a second and was livid because he couldn't get in. And he was livid because there was no doorbell. He didn't say, yo, well, you know what? It was an inconvenience, but I'm glad that you're keeping the kids safe. We couldn't just walk in. So then he put me on blast and sends this letter out by saying there was no doorbell, nobody answered the door, right? So yes. And why? Why? If I had the money for the damn doorbell, I would have gotten one. I eventually went and got a doorbell. I was a startup business. I eventually hired more staff. So you can understand, those of you who are listening, hopefully you can give me a little grace. That's why that feels a little personal to me to have somebody, and I think it feels like betrayal. See, this is not like you saying you're not down for the cause, right? I'm not down for this whole woke stuff. I'm not down for this justice stuff. I'm not down for this Black Lives Matter. I'm going to hold you accountable for being a business. But when you are out there saying you are fighting for Black Lives Matter, you need to understand how that translates to business. That feels deceptive to say you're supporting it on one hand, and on the other hand, you're not going to say on a podcast, yeah, just wasn't sustainable for me. Your ass should have, excuse my language, your ass should have fucking knew it wasn't sustainable for you before you went into the relationship. If you were looking for sustainability. So that was one thing that bothered me. It really did. Okay, I'm sorry. Whew. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to find a way to do this series without having to do a lot of prep because my prep is taking up too much time. I'm gonna end it here. I'm gonna come back and do a part 5. Okay, you guys, if this reflection has any value for you, please give it a heart thumbs up, like, or star. If this particular conversation in the series about sustainability as a Black business, if this relates to a conversation you've had in the world, please take this link and share it with those participants. If my moving about has caused some randomness in you, I would love to hear it. You can find me on my website at yournidom.wordpress.com. You guys, I'm going to come back and do a part 5. Please hang in there with me. But in the meantime, it's been a pleasure hanging out with you until I come back. Be well. Bye.